Hi, welcome to FinFlow Podcast. Do you ever find yourself setting these, really ambitious goals? Maybe it's a huge vision for your business or getting into the best shape of your life or even improving your relationships, and you truly believe in them, right? You're fired up
Hmm.
right up until the daily grind actually
Right,
begins.
when reality hits.
Exactly. You know what you want to achieve, you can see it clearly, but actually sticking to those consistent, sometimes really small habits that, get you there, that feels like a constant uphill battle.
It really does for so many people.
Yeah, it's almost like you find yourself being consistent, but maybe consistently doing something that's actually moving you in the wrong direction. Or
Hmm.
maybe worse, you just can't seem to get that momentum going at all.
That feeling of being stuck or spinning your wheels.
Totally. If any of that sounds familiar, even a little bit, then this deep dive is absolutely for you.
Because what we're going to unpack today is, honestly, a truly powerful idea. It's this concept of consistency as your ultimate superpower.
Superpower, I like that.
It really is. And it's not about complex strategies or, some secret, intricate maneuver. It's fundamentally about being deliberate, purposeful,
Hmm.
and just unwavering in your actions day after day.
Okay.
And by the end of our conversation today, we're pretty confident you'll have 5 very tactical, actionable steps you can take to make that power genuinely your own.
All right, I'm ready. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the profound insights behind consistency, your superpower to achieve goals. And this isn't just like abstract theory we're talking about.
No, not at all.
We're looking at a set of principles that have demonstrably, like really demonstrably, transformed how one remarkable individual approaches their ambitions.
Real world impact.
Yeah, I mean, imagine this. Building, scaling, and then successfully selling 3 businesses, all before you even hit 30. Before 28, actually.
Incredible.
And achieving a net worth that's, north of $100 million. And now overseeing an investment portfolio valued at over $500 million.
Staggering numbers.
Right. But here's the kicker. The foundational element behind all of that staggering success, the one single thread woven through every single achievement.
Let me guess. Consistency.
You got it, consistency. So we're going to explore how this incredibly powerful concept isn't just for the mega successful outliers. It's something you, listening right now, can actually harness.
Absolutely. It's accessible.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Let's truly discover how to make consistency your superpower. So when we hear that word consistency, it sounds deceptively simple, doesn't it?
It really does.
Just, keep doing something, repeat.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about achieving those truly massive life-altering goals, what does it really mean? And maybe more importantly, why is it so often the missing piece of the puzzle for so many of us?
Well, what's fascinating here is how it's defined. Consistency is basically making a clear commitment, deciding you're going to do something.
Okay.
And then, crucially, actually seeing it through, following through.
And the follow-through, that's key.
It's absolutely key. It's about ensuring your words, your intentions, are always paired with tangible actions, real actions, and then repeating those actions over an extended, often quite significant period.
So it's not just a one-off burst of energy.
Exactly. It's not a complicated concept to grasp intellectually, is it? We all sort of get it. But it is undeniably a challenging one to master in practice, in the day-to-day.
Yeah, it's only challenging.
It's the sustained effort, often the unglamorous effort, not just that initial burst of enthusiasm or that fleeting motivation we all feel right at the beginning of a new project or goal.
Oh yeah, the New Year's resolution effect.
Right. It's the daily grind. It's showing up even when you absolutely positively do not feel like it. That's what truly embodies its essence.
And that challenging aspect you mentioned, that's really central, isn't it? Why do you think it's so inherently difficult for us, to maintain that sustained effort? What are we really up against when we try to be consistent?
Well, it boils down to a few, I think, pretty fundamental aspects of just human nature and maybe our modern environment too.
Okay.
First, we seem to have this natural tendency to seek novelty.
Mhm.
Our brains kind of love new experiences, new information, new challenges, and gets a little dopamine hit from the new thing.
The shiny object syndrome.
Exactly. So that initial excitement of starting something fresh, it often gives way to boredom or just the allure of the next shiny objects once the routine actually sets in, the novelty wears off.
Right.
Second, and this is a big one, we live in a culture that really primes us for instant gratification.
Oh, definitely.
We expect immediate feedback, quick results for everything. You post something online, you get likes instantly. You order something, it shows up in hours, maybe a day or two.
Yeah, everything's on demand.
Right. And this sort of rewires our brains. We start anticipating rapid returns on our effort. So when we embark on a journey that demands weeks or months or even years of consistent, often totally unseen effort before any significant results appear, well, it feels counterintuitive. It feels wrong somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And our motivation just craters.
That makes so much sense. We're kind of fighting our own wiring in a way and the culture around us.
You really are. And then you add things like the fear of failure, right? That
Ugh.
little voice of self-doubt that whispers in your ear when progress feels slow or maybe invisible.
Ugh, yeah, that voice.
Or just the sheer mental energy it takes to constantly override our natural inclination to take the path of least resistance, to choose the harder thing consistently.
Yeah, the couch is always calling.
It is. So all these factors combine, and they make consistency a true test of resolve, of commitment.
Okay, so it's tough, we get it. But here's where it gets really interesting for me. The individual whose powerful insights we're exploring, the one with, incredible business success,
Yeah.
she attributes all of that immense success building and selling those businesses, creating that substantial net worth, managing that huge portfolio. She credits it almost entirely to this single quality, consistency above all else.
That's a powerful claim.
It really is. How can one single trait be so utterly transformative? What's the magic behind it? Why does it yield such outsized results?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the real power comes from momentum. Consistency creates this undeniable, almost unstoppable momentum through something we call the compounding effect.
Ah, the compounding effect, like with money.
Exactly like with money, that's the perfect analogy. Think about it like this. Small, repeated actions, even ones that seem utterly insignificant on their own, day to day. They don't just linearly add up. They're not just 1 + 1 + 1.
Okay.
They multiply. They compound over time into massive, often exponential results. It's a bit like,
Right?
well, think about a single drop of water, almost imperceptible in its individual impact.
Yeah, nothing.
But over millennia, consistent drops can carve out something as grand and monumental as the Grand Canyon.
Wow, okay, that's a visual.
Right. Each consistent action builds upon the last one, creating this powerful snowball effect. And once that snowball gains enough momentum, it becomes incredibly difficult to stop. The effort you put in today isn't just for today's tiny result. It's actually laying the foundation for tomorrow's acceleration.
So it's not just about doing more things, but about the cumulative power of doing the right things regularly, over and over again.
Precisely. That's the core of it. And here's another key point. This isn't just some abstract business principle. It's not just for CEOs or entrepreneurs.
Right.
This individual applies these exact principles across incredibly diverse areas of her life. We're talking her rigorous workout routines, her disciplined diet, the way she approaches the strength of her marriage, the growth of her business, obviously, but also nurturing her personal relationships.
It's universal.
It really highlights that consistency isn't just a tactic for a specific domain. It's a fundamental life skill. You could almost call it a meta skill. Once you master it, it unlocks progress and profound change in virtually any area you choose to apply it.
A meta skill. I like that framing.
Yeah, it's about understanding that the person you want to become, that future vision you hold, it's built one consistent action at a time, brick by brick.
Right.
And this, I think, raises a really important question for you listening right now. Where in your own life, specifically, could consistent, even seemingly small effort make the biggest, most catalytic difference right now?
Good question.
Is it your health, your career trajectory, maybe a creative pursuit you've been putting off, or a relationship that needs nurturing? Just take a second and imagine the compound interest you could earn on that daily investment of consistent effort. What could that look like a year from now?
All right, so we've definitely established that consistency is the engine. It's the driving force. But like you said, an engine is kind of useless, or maybe even destructive if it's just consistently driving you in the totally wrong direction, or just in circles.
Exactly. Motion doesn't equal progress if it's aimless.
Right. Which brings us perfectly to our first tactical step.
Yeah.
Setting your goals. This is the blueprint, the map. So what's the biggest pitfall people encounter when it comes to actually defining where they're headed?
Often the fundamental issue is simply a lack of clarity. And I don't just mean lacking a good goal. Sometimes people don't even have a clear goal in the first place.
Just sort of vague aspirations.
Exactly. They haven't truly articulated their vision for their business or their body or their relationships in a way that provides a tangible, concrete destination. And it's incredibly difficult, I'd say almost impossible, to be consistent if you don't know precisely what you're working towards.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to navigate a ship across a vast ocean. You need a destination, right? Without one, or without a reliable map to guide you. Well, you might be moving consistently, you might be expending a ton of energy, but you're unlikely to arrive anywhere meaningful. Or certainly not where you truly desire to go. The effort just becomes aimless wandering.
So it's not enough to just say something like, I want to be successful or I want to get healthy. That's just too fuzzy.
Precisely. It needs to be far more defined than that. The initial, absolutely crucial step is actually a qualitative measure first. It starts with asking, who do you want to be? And then, what does that future self look, feel, and even sound like?
Okay, qualitative first, not numbers yet.
Not yet. It's about painting a vivid, almost sensory-rich picture of your future self. Not just a vague aspiration, but something you can almost taste and feel. This future snapshot, as she calls it, acts as your compass, your North Star.
That's a powerful idea, picturing your future self with that level of detail. It's almost like directing a mental movie, isn't it?
It really is.
Can you share an example of how someone might create such a vivid vision, a snapshot that's potent enough to truly anchor them when things get tough?
Absolutely. And the wisdom we're exploring provides a truly compelling, detailed example. This individual vividly pictured herself 15 years into the future.
15 years, okay.
Yeah, a long-term view. And she's sitting in a chair on one of the world's most renowned talk shows. But it's the details that make it so impactful, so real.
Okay, like what?
She sees herself discussing being one of the top 5 women on the Forbes list. That's specific. She knows exactly how she looks. She describes herself as slim, in shape, with perfect hair and makeup. Very specific visual details.
Wow.
She can hear how she sounds confident, articulate, poised. She can feel the confidence she exudes. And importantly, she knows the specific message she's conveying.
What's the message?
It's about building a company through praise, not through punishment or fear. About how she's helped revolutionize the workplace through her content and the example she set. And she feels happy, self-assured, deeply fulfilled in that moment.
That's incredibly specific.
Incredibly, this detailed, multi-sensory image serves as an unbelievably potent anchor on those inevitable tough days. It's like a mental refuge she can go to when doubt creeps in, providing an undeniable why for pushing through the immediate challenges. It's a vision so clear, it starts to feel almost inevitable, like she's just walking towards it.
You know, what's truly striking about that image, for me, is how much it transcends just a general idea of success. It's not just, I want to be successful. It's a specific feeling, a specific look, a specific message delivered on a global stage. It makes it so tangible, so real, almost as if she's already lived it in her mind.
Exactly.
That level of detail must create an incredibly strong emotional connection, right?
Yeah.
Like a magnetic pull toward that future.
It absolutely does. And that's the invitation, really, to you, the listener. Take some time to think about your own snapshot. Where do you truly want to end up? Not just vaguely, but specifically. How do you want to feel in that future? How do you want to show up in the world? What do you want to look like, physically, emotionally? The more specific you can be, the more you engage all your senses in creating that vision, the more powerful that anchor becomes in guiding your daily actions and choices. It transforms a distant, maybe fuzzy hope into a present-day blueprint for action.
Okay, so we have this powerful multidimensional vision, this crystal clear snapshot. That's step one. But then how do we translate that dream into something concrete, something we can actually do today, tomorrow, next week? Because like we always hear, a vision without a plan is just, well, it's just a dream, right?
Precisely. A pleasant dream, maybe, but not one that leads to tangible results. This is where the reverse engineering comes into play. It's absolutely critical.
Reverse engineering, okay.
The next crucial step is to meticulously, systematically break down that qualitative vision, that vivid picture of your future self, into quantitative, measurable, actionable goals.
Quantitative now, numbers and actions.
Exactly. This means taking that grand 15-year vision, or whatever your time frame is, and systematically distilling it down, breaking into yearly goals. Then break those yearly goals into monthly milestones. Then break those monthly milestones into weekly objectives. And finally, crucially, break those weekly objectives into daily, specific actions or targets.
Wow, okay. Down to the daily level.
Absolutely. This systematic hierarchical breakdown does something incredibly powerful. It allows you to know with absolute certainty when you are being consistent on any given day. And perhaps even more importantly, it shows you what specific, measurable outcome the daily consistency is building towards. You see the direct link.
Ah, so you connect today's action to the bigger picture.
You do. It transforms what might feel like an overwhelming distant dream into a series of manageable, achievable daily tasks. It makes the impossible feel possible.
That's a huge leap conceptually, pulling that massive future self you envision right into the present moment and making it actionable today. How does that look in a real-world scenario? Can you give an example?
Yeah, definitely. Consider the example shared about an individual attempting to lose a significant amount of weight, say 100 pounds. A truly daunting goal.
Totally daunting. Seems insurmountable at the start.
Exactly. So they didn't just create a vision board with pictures of their ideal body, that's part of it, the qualitative vision, but they also created a separate, meticulously detailed goals board.
Okay, a goals board. Different from a vision board.
Yeah, more tactical. This board included concrete, daily targets that could be easily measured and tracked. Things like hitting a specific water intake goal every single day, or completing a certain frequency of strength training sessions each week, or hitting a minimum step count daily.
Very specific, measurable things.
Very. And then layered on top of that, there were monthly goals. Things like being able to increase the weights they lifted in the gym by a certain percentage, or fitting into a specific smaller size of clothing by the end of the month.
Ah, so milestones along the way.
Exactly. Milestones that show progress. And this systematic breakdown had a profound psychological effect. It made that daunting long-term 100-pound goal feel entirely achievable. Why? Because the path to get there was clearly laid out in a series of understandable, actionable, and measurable daily and weekly steps.
It breaks it down into bite-sized pieces.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It made believing in the vision much easier because you weren't just staring at the mountain peak, you were focused on the very next step right in front of you. You start seeing how today's consistent action, drinking that water, doing that workout, directly contributes to next month's milestone, like lifting heavier weights, and how that milestone leads towards the yearly progress, all pulling you steadily, inevitably, towards that ultimate 15-year vision.
Yeah.
It connects the micro to the macro.
Okay, that concept of reverse engineering your goals down to the daily action is incredibly powerful. It makes it feel so much more doable, but, it leads to another powerful and maybe sometimes a bit uncomfortable realization, which is that many of us, maybe most of us, are already remarkably consistent.
We are.
It's just maybe not in ways that actually serve our ultimate goals. In fact, we might be consistently, habitually doing behaviors that actively work against our aspirations. Can you elaborate on that? What does that look like in practice?
This is a truly critical insight, and you're right, it often causes a moment of, let's say, uncomfortable self-reflection for people when they first hear it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
People are frequently, almost automatically, doing things that actively deter them from their aspirations.
Yeah.
Often without even fully realizing the massive cumulative impact over time.
Like what kind of things?
Oh, the examples are everywhere. Consistently reaching for alcohol or other substances as a coping mechanism. Habitually getting lost for hours in endless entertainment like binge-watching entire seasons of shows in a weekend.
Guilty.
Right. Consistently being late for meetings or appointments, showing a lack of respect for others' time and your own commitments. Or even something subtler, like becoming addicted to your team's problems, consistently complaining, getting bogged down in negativity, focusing on the drama instead of proactively leading and finding solutions.
Oh, interesting. Focusing on problems instead of solutions.
Exactly. It feels like you're busy, but it's unproductive consistency. The profound point here isn't that you inherently lack the trait of consistency. Most people don't.
Right.
It's that you're often applying that consistency in the wrong areas. You're inadvertently, habitually moving away from your goals rather than purposefully moving towards them. The energy, the capacity for consistency is there. It's just misdirected.
Wow. Okay, so the challenge, the invitation then is to take a really honest moment and consider, what am I consistently doing, maybe even unconsciously doing, that might be subtly undermining my larger vision, my big goals?
Exactly. And these are often behaviors that are so ingrained, so habitual, you hardly even notice their presence anymore. But their repeated nature, day after day, gives them immense power, either for you or against you.
Okay, that's definitely a tough mirror to look into, but absolutely necessary if you want to change things. So once we've hopefully identified some of those misdirected, consistent behaviors, how do we actually redirect that energy? What's a practical, actionable framework we can use for identifying and then deliberately shifting those behaviors towards our goals?
The simplest and often the most effective approach is to use a straightforward three-part framework. You just ask yourself these three clear questions.
Okay.
1, what do I need to start doing? What new behaviors will actively propel me towards my goals? 2. What do I need to stop doing? What current behaviors are actively deterring me, holding me back, or interfering with my progress?
To start, stop.
Tap. And 3, what should I continue doing? What existing behaviors are already helping me move forward, or at least neutral and not actively harming my journey?
Start, stop, continue. Simple.
Simple, clear, and incredibly focusing. It creates a very clear, targeted action plan. And to illustrate just how powerful this simple framework can be, consider the leader we've been talking about applying this. When she was faced with the need to significantly level up as a CEO, she recognized that she herself was becoming a potential bottleneck for her rapidly growing company.
That takes self-awareness.
Huge self-awareness. She applied this precise start, stop, continue framework. What does she do? Well, first, she sought advice from her peers, other leaders who had successfully built larger, more impactful companies than hers at the time. She understood that learning from others' experience, standing on the shoulders of giants, is often the fastest path to growth.
Smart. Don't reinvent the wheel.
Exactly. But critically, she didn't just ask for vague advice. She looked at their actual calendars. She wanted to see where their time and, more importantly, their attention genuinely went day to day. Because she recognized that time and attention are the ultimate currency for business growth and leadership effectiveness. Where you spend your time shows what you truly value.
That's fascinating, literally looking at someone else's calendar to uncover behavioral gold. What specific game-changing insight did she discover by doing that? And how did she translate that insight into action using the start, stop, continue framework?
Well, what she observed was a really striking difference, particularly in meeting length. Her highly effective peers, the ones running much larger organizations, frequently conducted meetings that were just 15 minutes long, maybe 20 max.
15 minutes, wow.
Yeah, whereas she realized she was routinely engaged in meetings that were scheduled for a full hour, sometimes even longer, and often they drift.
Okay, I see the difference.
This wasn't necessarily about her peers having more meetings overall, although maybe they did.
Yeah.
The key insight was about getting more done, extracting more value, and maintaining much more focus within the time invested in each interaction. She realized her own meetings lacked efficiency and precision in communication and collaboration.
So less time, but more impact.
Exactly. Her decisions based on this discovery were immediate, very clear, and totally actionable, directly applying the framework. First, she decided to stop all default hour-long meetings. Full stop, no more.
Okay, stop.
Second, she decided to start defaulting any new meeting requests to a concise 10 or 15 minutes. That became the new standard. If someone needed more time, they had to specifically justify why.
Gorth. Okay.
And third, she committed to continue her regular 30-minute one-on-ones with her direct reports. She recognized that investing dedicated time in her people, understanding their challenges and supporting their growth, directly fuels business success and strengthens the company culture. This was a critical behavior she knew was already working effectively and absolutely needed to be maintained, maybe even enhanced.
Start, stop, continue.
Wow. What's incredibly insightful about that specific example, for me, is just how tactical it is. It wasn't some huge abstract change. It shows how even a seemingly small adjustment in a routine, like just shortening your default meeting length, can have this massive ripple effect on personal productivity, team dynamics, overall energy levels, and ultimately leadership effectiveness.
It really does.
It's not always about grand, sweeping gestures, is it? Sometimes it's about making these small surgical adjustments to your daily actions.
That's absolutely the core of it. Surgical precision is a great way to put it. And this, again, raises that important question for you, the listener. Given your grand vision, that snapshot you created, what specific activities or habits do you need to start doing, stop doing, or continue doing right now? Take a really hard, objective look at your calendar, your daily routine, your common interactions. Where are you consistently engaged in behaviors that, upon closer inspection, just don't serve your ultimate goal? And what small surgical changes inspired by this framework can you implement this week? That tactical approach to changing behaviors using start, stop, continue is really eye-opening. And, it leads perfectly into our next insight, step 3, which is one that truly resonates with me personally. It's the idea that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your environment.
Yes. That's a profound one. James Clear talks a lot about this.
It really hits home. Can you unpack what that statement means for our relentless pursuit of consistency? What does it imply?
Well, this statement is incredibly profound because it directly challenges the often held maybe slightly naive belief that sheer willpower alone is sufficient for lasting change.
Right, just try harder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What it means is that our environment, and this encompasses not just the physical spaces we inhabit, like our home or office,
Okay.
but also our digital spaces, the apps on our phone, the websites we visit, our social circles, the people we hang out with, and even the subtle visual cues around us. All of it profoundly shapes our behaviors, often completely without us even realizing it's happening.
It's like we're puppets, and the environment pulls the strings sometimes.
In a way, yes, especially for our automatic behaviors. If your environment is inadvertently or maybe even deliberately set up to make undesirable behaviors easy and convenient.
Like having cookies on the counter.
Exactly. And desirable behaviors hard or inconvenient, like your gym gear being buried in the back of the closet.
Hmm.
Then you're constantly fighting an uphill battle. You're relying solely on a finite resource, your willpower. And willpower, as we know, is depletable. It runs out.
Yeah, by the end of the day, it's gone.
It often is. So the goal, the strategic approach then, is to proactively design and engineer an environment that makes it nearly effortless, almost automatic, to start the beneficial behaviors you want to cultivate. And at the same time, make it significantly more difficult, add friction to engaging in those detrimental ones you want to stop.
So it's not just about trying harder within your current environment, but about changing the environment itself to make trying harder less necessary in the first place.
Precisely. It's about minimizing the friction for the good habits you want to build and maximizing the friction for the bad habits you want to break. This subtle yet pervasive influence of our surroundings can often be the deciding factor, the tipping point, in whether we maintain consistency long enough for a habit to stick or whether we fall back into those old, comfortable but unhelpful patterns.
Okay.
Our environment acts like a silent yet incredibly powerful co-pilot in our daily choices.
Yeah.
We need to make sure it's steering us in the right direction.
You know, sometimes the simplest solutions, the simplest environmental tweaks are the most impactful. I recall you mentioning a story about just a sticky note
Yes.
that completely transformed a leader's approach. Can you share that incredible anecdote again? It really illustrates this point perfectly.
Absolutely. It's such a brilliant, simple example of effective environmental engineering. So during her early days leading a company, this was back around 2017, this individual realized something absolutely critical about her own communication style. She's a naturally very expressive person. Her emotions, good or bad, tend to be clearly written all over her face. She can't really hide them.
I know people like that.
Right. And she noticed that her immediate facial reactions when her team delivered news, whether it was stress showing up or frustration or even sometimes intense excitement that might have seemed overwhelming these reactions, were inadvertently punishing her team members.
Punishing them? How?
Well, even without uttering a single critical word, her furrowed brow or a slight frown or maybe a sudden look of deep concern could instantly convey upset or judgment. And this, understandably, made her team hesitant. They became reluctant to share the full, vital context she desperately needed to make informed decisions as the CEO. They started filtering information to avoid triggering a negative reaction.
Wow. So her face was accidentally creating a barrier to open communication.
Exactly. It was interfering with her overarching goal of being a leader to whom people could feel completely safe telling anything good or bad.
That's such a subtle but incredibly powerful insight into her own behavior and its impact. How on earth did she tackle something so ingrained, so automatic as a facial expression?
Well, her solution was remarkably simple, yet utterly genius in its application of environmental design. She took a standard sticky note
Okay.
and wrote just 2 words on it, be neutral.
Be neutral. That's it.
That's it. And she placed that sticky note prominently on her computer monitor, right where she couldn't miss it during meetings or video calls.
A constant visual cue.
Exactly, a constant physical, environmental reminder. And she says it fundamentally changed how she showed up for her entire team. For the next 6 years, apparently, that tiny yellow sticky note served as a daily visual cue, a silent guardian for her reactions. It helped her consciously remember in the moment that most bad news isn't actually catastrophic. It's usually just inconvenient, or it's a problem to be solved collaboratively. And this simple reminder allowed her to gather the full, unfiltered context from her team without creating that atmosphere of fear or hesitation or self-censorship that her expressions had previously caused.
Wow.
It was a small, persistent cue in her immediate environment that produced massive, lasting behavioral change in her leadership style and, consequently, her company culture.
You know, what's truly striking about that story, for me, is the sheer power packed into a tiny piece of paper. A simple daily visual cue, fundamentally altering years of deeply ingrained behavior and leadership style. That's a real aha
Yeah.
moment right there. It's a testament to the power of deliberate, conscious intervention in your immediate surroundings.
It absolutely is.
It shows we don't always need these huge, complex solutions to tackle complex problems. Sometimes simple is incredibly effective.
Indeed. And, this raises an important question. Why is such a simple environmental reminder so incredibly effective? It connects directly back to the science of habit formation.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, research suggests, like we touched on, that it takes, on average, somewhere around 66 days for a new behavior to become truly automatic, to move from conscious effort to unconscious competence.
66 days? About 2 months?
Roughly, yeah. It varies per person and per habit, but that's a good benchmark. During those initial 66 days, when the behavior isn't yet fully ingrained, when it still requires conscious thought and deliberate effort, you are incredibly susceptible to, as the quote says, falling back to the level of your environment.
Right, because the habit isn't automatic yet.
Exactly. Your brain, specifically an area called the basal ganglia, is actively working, rewiring itself, trying to make that new behavior effortless. But until those new neural pathways are solid and strong, your environment is your crucial co-pilot, or maybe your crutch. If you haven't consciously engineered your surroundings to remind you, to support you, to make the new behavior easier during this critical learning period, before the habit becomes truly effortless, well, it's going to be incredibly tough to maintain consistency. The old patterns will likely win out.
So going back to the cookie example, or maybe ice cream. If you've been consistently reaching for ice cream every single night for a year, those first 66 days of trying not to are a real battle.
A huge battle
Yeah.
against a deeply ingrained habit.
And your environment during that time can either be your strongest ally in that fight or it can be your biggest saboteur, right?
Absolutely. Without an environment that makes it easier to not reach for the ice cream, maybe, like you said,
Correct.
by simply not having it in the house in the first place, increasing friction,
Yeah.
or maybe putting a prominent reminder on the fridge about your health goals, a visual cue, or perhaps placing your running shoes right by the door so they're the first thing you see, making the desired habit easier. Without those supports, your default, ingrained behavior, the ice cream habit, will likely win that battle, especially when your willpower is low.
Yeah.
Your environment basically creates the path of least resistance. Our goal with this step is to deliberately design our environment so that the path of least resistance is actually the one that leads us towards our goals, not away from them.
Okay, so it's about strategically setting yourself up for success, creating those deliberate nudges and barriers so your environment works for you, not constantly against you, especially during those crucial first couple of months of building a new habit.
That's exactly it. It's a truly strategic way to approach behavior change, moving way beyond just relying on sheer, often fickle willpower.
Okay, this is great. We've now established our crystal clear goals using that snapshot idea.
Yeah.
We've aligned our daily behaviors with those goals using start, stop, continue. And we've strategically engineered our environment to support those new habits and make them easier. That feels like a really powerful foundation.
It absolutely is. Those first 3 steps are crucial.
But how do we keep the momentum going, especially when, progress inevitably feels slow sometimes, or that initial excitement starts to wane, which it always does?
Right. The marathon, not the sprint.
Exactly. Our next step, step 4, talks about rewards. This seems key for long-term motivation. What's a core principle here? Why are rewards so important for consistency?
Well, what's truly fascinating here and deeply rooted in behavioral psychology is the profound power of positive reinforcement. It's a fundamental principle.
Positive reinforcement.
If you want a specific behavior to occur more frequently and, crucially, more consistently over the long haul, you absolutely need to reinforce it positively.
Yeah.
You need to connect it with a positive outcome or feeling.
Makes sense. We like feeling good.
We do. And this principle holds true whether that reinforcement comes from yourself, through some kind of self-designed system, or, interestingly, whether it comes, perhaps even more powerfully, from someone else, from an external source.
Okay. So rewards strengthen the behavior. How does that work in the brain?
Basically, rewards create this robust, positive feedback loop. Each time you receive a reward, whether it's tangible praise, a feeling of accomplishment, or even just a small treat right after performing the desired action, It literally strengthens the neural pathways in your brain associated with that specific behavior.
It wires it in deeper.
Exactly. It releases dopamine, which signals to your brain, hey, that thing we just did, that was good. Let's remember to do that again. It essentially trains your brain to associate the positive feeling of the reward with the consistent action you're taking, creating this self-perpetuating cycle of motivation.
Okay, that makes total sense. We're basically training ourselves like we might train a pet with positive rewards.
In a simplified way, yes, the principles are very similar. But you mentioned something interesting earlier, recruiting someone else to reinforce your behavior. You called it a third-party advantage. Why is having someone else reward or acknowledge your efforts often so much more effective than just trying to reward yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. If we connect this to the bigger picture, recruiting a supportive third-party someone outside yourself to acknowledge and positively reinforce your efforts can significantly increase your likelihood of success. It adds a layer of social accountability and external validation.
Right.
This is precisely why so many highly effective programs for things like exercise or nutrition changes or any kind of structured behavior change initiative often involve a coach or a supportive workout buddy, a trusted friend, a family member who's cheering you on, or even a therapist.
Right, that external support system.
Exactly. That external party provides objective, consistent, positive feedback. They acknowledge your effort, they celebrate your progress, even when you might be too close to it to fully see it yourself, or when you're feeling down. Yeah, sometimes others see our progress before we do.
They often do. They help keep you focused on your future goals and the positive strides you're making, effectively helping you to reframe the inevitable challenges and setbacks. And they help you forget, or at least diminish the power of, the old detrimental behaviors you're trying to shed. They essentially act as an external source of motivation and dopamine when your internal reserves might be running low.
It sounds like it's more than just accountability, like having someone check if you did the thing. It's really about that positive affirmation, that encouragement.
It is. Think about the anecdote shared about Alex, who was writing his book. A monumental task, right?
Oh yeah, writing a book is a marathon.
Totally. He was committing 6 to 8 hours a day to the writing process. An incredibly arduous, often solitary, and mentally draining effort. And initially, there was no immediate external reinforcement for that daily grind of just sitting down and writing, especially before the book was published.
Right, the reward is way off in the future.
Exactly. His partner, observing his immense dedication and understanding this psychological need for reinforcement, consciously stepped in. She actively provided constant positive reinforcement.
What did she do?
Simple things, but consistent things. She would acknowledge the sheer effort he was putting in each day. She'd praise his focus. She'd celebrate his daily word count or the completion of a chapter, no matter how small the progress might have seemed in the grand scheme of the whole book.
She was his cheerleader.
She absolutely was. And this consistent external support, this validation, made it immensely easier for him to stay consistent with a difficult writing schedule, especially during times when his own internal drive might have wavered due to the lack of immediate, tangible results or external validation from the writing process itself. He felt seen, he felt heard, and he felt supported in his consistent, difficult work.
You know, what really stands out to me in that story is how powerfully it highlights that fundamental human need we all have for acknowledgement, for feeling seen, especially when the work itself is such a long game, like writing a book with very delayed gratification. Having someone else truly see and affirm your effort, particularly when the end goal feels so distant and uncertain, can be an incredibly powerful motivator. It really can bridge that gap between the daily effort and the eventual reward.
It absolutely can. It refuels the tank. But you might be thinking, okay, that's great if you have a supportive partner or friend like that, but what if I don't? What if I'm doing this largely on my own? How can you create your own robust reward system to maintain consistency?
Yeah, exactly. What can you do yourself?
And the good news is, you absolutely can create effective self-reward systems. You can strategically design your schedule, your routines, so that certain activities you genuinely enjoy become rewards that are contingent upon completing your high-priority, goal-oriented tasks first.
Contingent. Okay, so you only get the reward if you do the work.
Precisely. For example, let's say finishing 2 specific critical work tasks is your absolute #1 priority for the day. Those are the things that move the needle towards your bigger goals. Then, maybe your highly anticipated workout, or an hour of reading that novel you love, or even watching an episode of your favorite show. Something you genuinely look forward to becomes the reward. but it's explicitly contingent on completing those two priority tasks first. Ah, I see. The rule is clear and non-negotiable with yourself. If the priority tasks aren't done, the reward isn't earned that day. Maybe it's pushed to tomorrow, but only after tomorrow's priorities are done.
So it's not just taking a break whenever you feel like it. It's a strategically earned privilege based on your consistency with the important stuff.
That's exactly the framing. This method cleverly leverages your own intrinsic motivation by linking an activity you already desire the reward to a perhaps less desired but absolutely necessary activity, the goal task. It subtly reframes the reward. It's no longer seen as just a luxury or an indulgence. It becomes a deserved outcome, a natural consequence of your consistent, disciplined effort.
Okay.
You're effectively conditioning yourself, building that internal feedback loop where effort leads to a desired outcome, reinforcing the effort itself.
That's a smart way to structure things.
It really is. And this leads to the final important question for you, the listener, on this step. How can you strategically integrate meaningful, genuinely enjoyable, and non-detrimental rewards into your daily and weekly routines?
Yeah.
How can you set them up to consistently reinforce the specific behaviors that are moving you closer to your most important goals? Think about it. Make the reward something you genuinely look forward to, something that truly feels like a satisfying victory lap for your consistency that day or that week.
Okay, this framework is really coming together. We've laid out a powerful strategy. Set crystal clear goals. Step 1. Align your daily behaviors using start, stop, continue. Step 2. Engineer your environment to make it easy. Step 3. And strategically reward your consistent progress. Step 4. That feels like a comprehensive toolkit for building consistency.
It really covers the key bases for establishing and maintaining momentum.
But even with all of that in place, we're human. Doubt inevitably creeps in, doesn't it? That little voice starts whispering again. What are the biggest enemies, the biggest threats to consistency at this stage? When you're already in motion but maybe hitting a plateau or just feeling weary?
You're absolutely right. This is often the crucible. This is where consistency truly gets tested, and frankly, where many people ultimately falter, even after a good start. The two main culprits that tend to derail people at this stage are pervasive. One is impatience, and the other, perhaps even more insidious, is self-deception.
Impatience and self-deception. Okay.
Yeah. In our instant gratification culture, like we talked about, we've been deeply conditioned to expect immediate results for our efforts.
Yeah.
So when those desired outcomes, the weight loss, the business growth, the improved relationship, don't appear magically within a week or two of starting a new consistent routine.
Which they rarely do.
Which they rarely do. Our immediate assumption is often, this plan isn't working, or worse, I'm not capable of making this work. And then the temptation is incredibly strong to just abandon ship, change the plan drastically, or quit altogether.
Yeah, that urge to switch strategies constantly when you don't see instant results.
Exactly. And then there's self-deception.
Yeah.
Which is a really tricky one to identify in ourselves, isn't it?
It really is. Our minds are good at fooling us.
They are. Many people genuinely think they're adhering rigorously to a plan they've set. Think back to that example of someone claiming, maybe even believing, they're only eating 1,100 calories a day, but they're consistently not losing weight.
Right.
When you ask them, are you actually tracking every single thing you eat and drink, every bite, every sip? The answer is often a sheepish, well, mostly.
Yeah.
Or just a plain no.
Yeah, the mostly tracking.
Right. The uncomfortable truth is, without objective, consistent measurement and tracking, we often unconsciously underestimate our undesirable actions, like those extra calories sneaking in, and we overestimate our beneficial ones, like how intense our workout really was. Our minds are absolute masters of rationalization and self-serving biases.
Like confirmation bias, looking for evidence we're doing well.
Exactly. We tend to seek out information or interpret ambiguous information in a way that confirms what we want to believe about our efforts, rather than confronting the potentially uncomfortable objective truth. And this makes it incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to genuinely assess if the plan itself isn't working, or if the real issue is that we're not actually adhering to it consistently enough.
That calorie example is just incredibly relatable. I think we've all been there with something, whether it's diet or spending or how much time we really spend working versus procrastinating.
Absolutely, it applies everywhere.
So how do we counter that pervasive self-deception? How do we ensure we're actually following the plan we've so carefully constructed in the previous steps?
The solution is straightforward, though not always easy to implement consistently. Rigorous tracking and measurement. The individual whose wisdom we're dissecting recounted her own stark experience with this exact challenge.
With the calories.
Yeah. She genuinely believed, based on her perception, that she was consuming around 1,400 calories daily. Seemed reasonable. But when she made the commitment to track rigorously, logging everything that passed her lips for a period,
What did she find?
she discovered, much to her surprise and maybe dismay, that she was actually consuming closer to 2,300 calories on average per day, nearly 1,000 calories more than she thought.
Wow. That's a huge difference.
A massive difference, driven by untracked snacks, slightly larger portions, maybe some sauces or drinks she wasn't accounting for. And this underscores a core, non-negotiable principle for anyone serious about achieving goals through consistency. If you don't track it and you don't measure it, you simply cannot effectively manage it.
Track, measure, manage.
Got it. This applies universally. Whether it's your calorie intake, your business finances, revenue expenses, profit margins, the number of sales calls you make each day, your daily meditation minutes, your weekly workout frequency, any measurable goal requires tracking. Not tracking leaves you completely vulnerable to self-deception, making it impossible to genuinely assess if your plan is effective or if you're truly adhering to it.
Right.
The data, even when it's inconvenient or tells you something you don't want to hear, doesn't lie. It provides an undeniable, objective truth that allows you to adjust your course with precision, based on reality, not perception. It's the ultimate reality check.
You know, what really stands out to me there is just how easily our minds can create a narrative that doesn't match reality. We want to believe we're doing better than we are. The data just cuts right through that self-serving story.
It absolutely does. It keeps us honest.
Okay, so tracking deals with self-deception. But what about the other enemy? Impatience. We confront the data, we see we are being consistent, but the results still aren't coming as fast as we want. We crave that instant gratification, but consistency often yields its most profound results on a much longer, slower timeline. How do we cope with that seemingly slow progress when we're trying so hard to be consistent day after day?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it raises a really important point about understanding the fundamental nature of progress and momentum. The results you're seeing today, or maybe even the results you see a week or two into starting a new consistent routine, are often, maybe even usually, the delayed outcomes of work you actually did 3 months ago, 6 months ago, maybe even 12 months ago.
Whoa, okay. Say more about that.
Momentum, whether it's positive momentum you're building or negative momentum you're trying to overcome, takes considerable time to build up. And it takes even more time, often, to shift direction once it's established. Think of turning a huge ocean liner. It doesn't turn on a dime, right?
Right, it takes miles.
Exactly. So, you might still be incurring the costs, or reaping the perhaps undesirable results, from habits and decisions you made many months ago, even while you're simultaneously diligently laying the robust foundation for future success with your new consistent actions today.
So it's like a time paradox. You're living with the consequences of the past while building the future at the same time.
That's a great way to put it. You're simultaneously settling old debts from past inconsistencies while building new capital for future success. It's happening concurrently. And understanding this lag is crucial for managing impatience.
That's a tough pill to swallow, though, isn't it? Knowing you might still be paying the price for past mistakes or lack of consistency, even as you're working really hard now to do things differently, that requires immense faith in the process, doesn't it? And a genuinely long-term perspective.
It requires huge faith and perspective. Absolutely. Consider the example shared about a portfolio company they were working with. They recognized they had a serious systemic issue with poor leadership throughout the organization.
Okay, a common problem.
Very common. So they committed to and implemented a comprehensive, multifaceted improvement plan. They started hiring new, high-caliber individuals with strong leadership potential. They implemented consistent leadership training programs across the board. They instituted quarterly performance reviews focused on development. They mandated regular, meaningful one-on-one meetings between managers and their teams. They were doing all the right things consistently.
Sounds like a solid plan.
It was. But just 1 month into this diligent, consistent effort, literally just 4 weeks, 2 key people quit the company. And when asked why in their exit interviews, they both cited lack of leadership as a primary reason.
Oh, wow. That must have been demoralizing for the CEO implementing the changes.
Incredibly demoralizing. It'd be so easy to think, see, this new plan isn't working. All this effort is for nothing. But the crucial insight, the advice given to the CEO, was this. Those resignations were not a reflection of the new, consistent efforts made in the last month. They were the delayed fallout, the lagging indicator of the prior 12 months, maybe longer, of poor leadership practices that existed before the changes began.
Ah, the old momentum still playing out.
Exactly. The advice was unequivocal. Stick with the plan. Trust the process. The positive results from the new, consistent leadership efforts will come, but they operate on their own timeline, likely months down the road. You have to weather the storm of the old results while continuing to build the foundation for the new ones.
That really puts the 10,000-hour rule into perspective too, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. That idea that it takes roughly 10,000 hours of deliberate, consistent practice to achieve true mastery in any complex field. If you feel you're not great at business yet, or leadership, or maybe content creation or playing an instrument, whatever your goal is, ask yourself honestly, have I truly put in the consistent hours? Have I paid the dues?
Probably not for most things we feel we're not good at.
Often not. The results will follow consistent, deliberate effort, but rarely, if ever, immediately. You have to trust that the deposits you're making today will compound, even if the account balance doesn't seem to be moving much right now.
Okay. So track relentlessly to fight self-deception and understand the lag time of results to fight impatience. That's powerful. What else helps us stick with the plan when doubt is screaming?
This brings us to a truly transformative and maybe somewhat counterintuitive final piece of wisdom for maintaining consistency, especially when that doubt is at its absolute peak.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's the idea that our behaviors often have immense influence over our minds and feelings, sometimes even more so than our minds influence our behaviors.
Whoa. Okay, flip that around for me. Actions influence thoughts and feelings more than thoughts influence actions? That feels like flipping the script on conventional wisdom.
It kind of is. Conventional wisdom often says, get motivated first, then act, or believe it and then you'll achieve it.
Right. Exactly. Wait for inspiration.
But this insight suggests the opposite can be true, and often more effective when you're stuck. This is a profound counterintuitive truth. When your mind, your internal dialogue, is telling you to give up, telling you to change the plan yet again, telling you to doubt its efficacy, remember that your actions can actually create new beliefs and feelings.
So act first and the belief follows.
In many cases, yes. You don't necessarily need to fully believe it's going to work to take the action. You just need to commit to the action, perform it consistently, and then almost objectively observe the outcome as an experiment. Your brain is fundamentally a pattern-matching machine.
Okay.
When you consistently act a certain way, even if your internal dialogue is screaming doubt or resistance, your brain starts building new neural pathways. It starts gathering evidence that this new behavior is indeed you. And over time, often sooner than you think, your feelings and your beliefs will start to catch up and align with your consistent actions.
So going back to that leadership example, if I want to be a great leader, but maybe I secretly feel like I don't care that much about my team right now, or I feel awkward connecting with them, the advice isn't necessarily to force myself to feel caring first.
Exactly. Trying to force a feeling is often counterproductive. The advice, based on this principle, would be to act like the caring, connected leader you aspire to be, even if it feels unnatural or inauthentic at first.
What would that look like?
Consistently smile at your team members. Genuinely ask them how they're doing, and then actually listen to the answer. Offer help proactively. Acknowledge their efforts publicly. Do these actions consistently, even if the feeling isn't there initially. Then just observe how you feel, how they respond, and how your beliefs about yourself as a leader start to shift over, say, 2 weeks or a month of consistent action.
So the action itself starts to generate the feeling and the belief.
Precisely. The more you act consistently in a desired way, the faster the corresponding positive beliefs and genuine feelings will develop. Your actions lead the way, and your mind and feelings eventually follow suit. It's a powerful way to overcome internal resistance.
Wow. What a liberating thought. Seriously, we don't have to wait for inspiration to strike or for unwavering belief to magically appear before we start. We just need to commit to the action, even if it feels mechanical at first. It's like letting your body guide you into new beliefs, showing your mind what's possible through consistent forward movement. Feels like a much more reliable strategy than waiting for motivation.
It often is, because action is something you can control, whereas feelings and motivation can be incredibly fickle. And this really brings us to the ultimate takeaway, the core message from making consistency your superpower. Long-term consistency will always, always beat short-term intensity. Always.
Consistency beats intensity.
Every time. Yeah. In the long run. It's relatively easy to muster energy once, right? To do something with great intensity for a short burst, a crash diet, an all-nighter working on a project.
Yeah, the sprint.
Exactly. What's truly hard, but what's truly powerful and transformative, is showing up and doing the work day in and day out, especially when you're doubting if the path even works, especially when you feel that internal resistance. That's the real test.
Okay.
So maybe stop trying so hard to achieve your goals directly through sheer force of will or sporadic bursts of intensity. Instead, shift your primary focus. Start trying, above all else, to simply be consistent with the core behaviors you've identified. If you can master consistency, if you can make that your main goal, the big audacious goals you're aiming for will often naturally follow as an inevitable outcome of your sustained, deliberate, daily effort. Consistency builds the bridge to your goals. Hashtag tag tags outro.
Wow. Just wow. What an incredibly deep dive into making consistency your superpower. We've covered some truly game-changing insights today. I feel like this really provides a practical roadmap for anyone looking to tackle big ambitions.
It really does offer a clear step-by-step approach.
Absolutely. From setting those crystal clear, vividly detailed goals, using the snapshot idea, and then reverse engineering them down into daily, manageable actions,
The blueprint.
to consciously choosing behaviors that genuinely support your vision, using that simple but powerful start, stop, continue framework,
Aligning actions.
then strategically engineering your environment, both physical and digital, to make those right actions effortless and the wrong ones harder.
Setting yourself up for success.
Then integrating strategic rewards, either from others or yourself, to fuel that long-term motivation and reinforce your consistent progress.
The positive reinforcement loop.
And finally, trusting the process by tracking relentlessly to combat self-deception, understanding the lag time of results to manage impatience, and ultimately letting your consistent actions lead and shape your beliefs. These are seriously powerful tools.
They truly are. Each step builds on the last to create a robust system for change.
Yeah, and this entire journey through the principles of consistency, it really leads to a final, truly profound thought for you, the listener, to perhaps ponder as we wrap up.
Okay.
Most people are probably just 1 year of unwavering consistency away from a completely different, radically improved version of themselves.
Wow. 1 year.
1 year. Think about what that 1 year could genuinely look like for you. What transformation could actually unfold in your health, your career, your relationships, your skills, if you truly committed to these 5 practices, starting today, and stuck with them for 365 days. What version of yourself, what new realities, what previously unimaginable successes will you unlock through the quiet, relentless, day-by-day power of consistency?
Powerful question to leave with.
Thank you for watching this. We hope it sparks a profound shift in your journey toward your goals. See you in the next episode. Like, subscribe, and share.